That
That
was
was
the
10.
10.
10. My bad.
Yeah, that was 10. I'm 11 here with Devin Vassell going to the San Antonio Spurs. I felt this pick coming before it happened because he was my favorite player left on the board. I think. And of course the Spurs take him. It just is like felt like it was written in the stars.
Yeah.
He's super efficient, great defender. Probably him and Okoro, two of the best defenders in the class. He's a good shooter, solid passer. He's just really a well-rounded player. The analytics love him, which is another reason to bet on him, and probably a big reason why the Spurs did too. I think just at the absolute minimum, he's going to be a really great 3-and-D player. But I'm fairly positive he can be way more than that, especially on the Spurs. Like, you just pair him with Pop and he can coach him up. I really think his potential is through the roof here in San Antonio. Unless his shooting mechanics are really fucked up. I saw this video of him on Twitter where he was like shooting in a scrimmage or like in a practice or something. And it looked like he was like reorienting his shooting form for some reason, which I thought was weird because he was a good shooter in college. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it was just like he was trying something out, but it was giving me Markelle Fultz vibes. Yeah, we another thing is that I thought that I was thinking about when this pick was made is that we still don't really know what the Spurs are going to be next year at all. Like, there's still some moving parts there with DeRozan and Aldridge. Like, he's coming to the end of his career. There's a lot of things up in the air. I don't really know what, like, they're obviously looking towards the future, but what they're going to be next year is a big question. And I think with Murray and Derek White and Lonnie Walker and now Vassell, I like that for the Spurs. I think they're setting themselves up to kind of rebuild and be a really good team in a couple of years and competing in the West again.
Yeah,
and I just think it was the best fit on the board.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's funny you say that you saw it written in the stars because me and Hill were watching the draft. It was the most Spurs pick on the board. Like, defensive just nightmare. The Spurs are going to eat that up all day long. It's such a Spurs pick. And they got their guy. And I completely agree with what you're saying about putting him with Pop and coaching him up. And yeah, I think that's a great pick for them. You know, like, in that area, there wasn't a lot of guys that I think fit for the Spurs more than he did. So yeah, like you said, written in the stars. And I really liked that pick a lot.
And
yeah.
Because of that fit, I do agree that it's a very good pick, but at the same time, for like Aiden said, for a team that they're probably not going to keep DeRozan, they're going to lose Aldridge. They're entering a new sort of era of Spurs basketball. I don't know if I exactly think that like Devin Vassell, he's a very, very safe pick, and he's going to be a good 3-and-D player in the NBA. But I would have liked to see them maybe take a player with like a little bit more shot creation. He's not very creative on offense. Like, I don't know. I don't hate the pick, but I just feel that like a team that's kind of entering a new era could use like a player that's a little bit more offensively dynamic.
It's just such a Spurs pick. It's so safe.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, Kale. I know what you're saying, but it is just such a Spurs like.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we called it, but like,
yeah.
You know, like, I agree with you 100%. I just think it's a long road, right? To being like, when you're trying to actually, they still have DeRozan, they still have Aldridge. These are things that need to be addressed first while they're moving into that next stage of basketball. And I think Vassell fits in, if you can't get rid of those guys anytime soon, to kind of like plug and play. And I think he works very well in that sense. But I totally know what you mean and agree with you. It's just that, you know, they're going to pick more guys high. The Spurs aren't going to be good, right? When you look at the West, the Spurs aren't going to be good. So they have lots of opportunities to draft guys. Next year's draft is supposed to be incredible.
So good.
And so maybe that's down the line where they find that. And they plug in Vassell as their like 3-and-D guy, and he kind of fits for them now, as well as the future, because he's obviously, you know, 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's very true. Man, you took the words out of my mouth there. Like, that's exactly what I was thinking, is like the Spurs are not going to be good, and you take these older pieces off the team. Like, they have to put guys out there, and Vassell just fits that so well. Like, if DeRozan's gone and Aldridge is gone, or even just one of them is gone, like around him with more young pieces. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is just it is such a Spurs pick, and it just makes sense. Like there's not much more to say.
Yeah, not much more to say.
Yeah, and speaking of how good the next draft is, everyone watching, you guys should tune in as well. It's a year from now. Just tune in.
We'll still be
We'll be here.
Yeah, we'll be here.
Yeah.
Also, if anyone is still watching at this point, thank you so much. You are a legend for getting I just got to throw that out there. You are a real one. We all love you. Thank you so much for getting.
You want a date or something? Like,
it's probably only going to be like us, Shanti, and like Jack that watch this.
But either way, if you've made it, appreciate it a lot. Thank you for even watching, by the way, also. If you're watching at all. But who's next, boys?
Tyrese Haliburton at 12.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So one thing that I was going to say with the Spurs, interesting pick, but personally, I think the better player on the board was Haliburton. But yeah, I still like the pick for the Spurs. But anyways, Tyrese Haliburton, point guard. This man was originally projected at one point as a top 5 player. So for the Kings to get him at 12, I like that pick. To me, it seems like a steal. And I think with his skill set, it's a great fit for Fox, who they're clearly wanting to keep, and Buddy Hield, who I don't think wants them to keep him. Like he wants out by. So yeah, I like that. Even if they keep Buddy Hield, I like Haliburton. He has a very different skill set than Fox. He's not as much of a natural scorer as Fox is, and not as quick, but he's more of a unorthodox kind of versatile, high IQ playmaker guy. So I really like that, and I think Fox and him can fit super well together. He's a good shooter with his feet set, so a good just catch and shoot kind of guy. And he led the Big 12 in assists, which is huge. And I think just with him playing with Fox, even if they keep Hield, or they're just running. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen with Bogdanovich, but with Bagley and it's a young core. So even though this Kings definitely won't make the playoffs, like that will surprise me a lot. I do like the pick for the future for sure. Also, he has he's the guy that they like making TikToks together and shit. Cool looking dad. Seemed like a nice guy, good family life. And also, I think he was the one with the good-looking girlfriend as well. I like the pick.
I think the clear question when you hear like the Sacramento Kings are picking a point guard, you're like, a point guard?
Yeah.
They already have a point guard, right? But if you actually watch Tyrese Haliburton, he's great for them. He's not a box. He's
very
not
different skill set.
Very different skill set. And Buddy Hield, fire him out the door.
Yeah.
Get rid of his ass. He's horrible.
He ain't getting a max anywhere as well. No way that man's getting a max.
Yeah. No, not a chance.
The Knicks will pick.
Yeah, they might.
That's the only team.
Yeah. If they don't take our boy Freddie from us.
Didn't Buddy Hield already sign a max with the Kings?
He signed a big deal like beginning of last off season now, but now he's just like Buddy Hield's just a diva.
I mean, he's out the door. There's no question about that to me.
And I think we all agree Tyrese Haliburton's a great fit. He slots right in there very well. And I mean, they're starting something pretty young in Sacramento. So you just got to hope that Luke Walton doesn't mess it all up and they can continue to move forward in a good way.
This Tyrese Haliburton pick for the Kings at 12 is honestly probably one of my favorite picks of the draft.
Same.
Like Tyrese Haliburton is a guy that like going into this draft, he was projected as a top 5 pick by a lot of boards. And like I agree with completely everything you said. His play style fits very well with De'Aaron Fox. He's a great outside shooter, and especially with the departure of Buddy Hield, Tyrese Haliburton gives De'Aaron Fox kind of that guy on the outside who isn't only a perimeter threat like Buddy Hield was, but he has an extra dimension to his game. Like you said, great playmaker, gets the ball in his hands. He can create for more of his teammates, and I just think it gives Sacramento's backcourt just a great dynamic in the future, and I love the pick for them.
On ones. I agree. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm up next, and we have. Hold on, I just got to find my spot here. We have Kyra Lewis Jr., a point guard out of Alabama, going to the New Orleans Pelicans at 13. This is another pick. I absolutely love this pick for the Pelicans. I think it fits right into what they're trying to do in New Orleans. Kira Lewis is a natural scorer as both a slasher and a shooter, and he's extremely versatile on offense. He's incredibly fast, and this gives him a unique ability to create space for himself and his teammates. He has this ability to draw defensive pressure with his incredible slashing speed and agility, and this creates a lot of space for players like Ingram, who, as we kind of saw last season, although he was good, the offense tended to kind of stagnate in ISO situations where Ingram was forced to generate his own shot. So, like, I think like a player like Kira Lewis, he adds a really interesting like space creating dynamic to that offense that's really going to help New Orleans other young players who at times can struggle to create their own shots. And so although like Lewis, he's a very raw young player, that should be said. He was 18 years old in his 1 year at Alabama, but I think with proper instruction and coaching, I'm very excited to see what he could do on the defensive end in a guard tandem with Lonzo. Although he's very light and he needs to add muscle, he has an excellent frame. He's very long, good wingspan. He's very quick and agile. And I think this combination of speed and size gives him a very high ceiling on the defensive end of the floor. Combined with Lonzo, I think this Pelicans backcourt could be one of the more formidable defensive tandems in the league.
Facts.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly there.
Yeah.
Like, what a great fit with the Pelicans.
Fantastic
man. Like,
fit.
it's unbelievable.
I love the Pelicans. They're just
The
front office is
I didn't
killing
even see it
it.
at first. Yeah, man, it's crazy. I'm excited about that team.
Yeah, they've done so well.
Pelicans video coming soon.
Yeah, no, for
We're-
real.
we're-
So
we're-
much to
we-
talk about.
We all just circle jerk about the Pelicans in a video.
Yeah,
We're actually
just
getting
us sitting in a
try
circle
on
talking
the
about how much we
podcast.
love them.
Yeah.
So number 14, which I think is what we're at now, is the Boston Celtics, who have a high pick for some reason, even though they're amazing, and they always have a high pick, it seems like. Aaron Nesmith from Vanderbilt. He's 6'6", 213. He's a small forward. Now, my pros on this guy, he's the best shooter in the draft. He's a sniper from beyond the arc. He brings more scoring to Boston off the bench, which is something that they were lacking last year. I was seeing a lot of like Boston sports media things talking about how their bench wasn't scoring enough, and he fills that void for them. Also, this is a luxury pick for the Celtics, right? Like, they've already got their guys all set up in the lineup. This is just a guy, they're picking at 14. They take the best shooter in the draft. You can't really go wrong here. He scored 23 points per game in college, which is a lot in college basketball, and shot 52% from beyond the arc, which is, once again, incredibly high. This guy is a sniper. He's a killer.
That's insane.
He's a hard worker. He's not afraid of defending. And he could play at the shooting guard position if they really wanted him to. They could shift him down. He could just be a lanky guard, but they could do it. But he is more of obviously a natural small forward. And he shoots 83% from the free throw line, which, as Marco was saying earlier, is a big indicator of three-point shooting in the NBA, which he's already so good at.
Yeah.
This guy, really, the sky's the limit for Aaron Nesmith, and I think the Celtics got a steal here. The only little con that I will throw in here is that he did have a foot injury last year, which held him to only 14 games of the season. Which obviously, you should never let injuries totally affect how you're going to draft a guy. Just something to throw out there. But overall, the Celtics don't view this as a major injury. Brad Stevens came out and said he loved this pick. He said he thinks that Aaron Nesmith thinks he's the best shooter on the team, and that Jason Tatum might have something to say about that.
That's dope.
But overall,
I
I think this is a good, fun pick for the Celtics, and I think it's a home run pick for where they picked.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Just like I know one of the criticisms of Nesmith coming into the draft is that he needed to improve as a shot creator, but going to a team like Boston, that almost doesn't really matter in the role that he's going to be playing, because you have guys like, you have Tatum, you have Jaylen Brown. As of right now, they still have Kemba Walker. I know they've been kind of shopping him a little bit out on the open market, but anyways, you have a lot of guys on that team that if you surround them with just efficient three-point shooters, they can work very well together in that system. And I think Nesmith, for where the Celtics are at as an organization, is a great young player that helps them both for the future and to compete now.
The rich get richer, eh?
Yeah.
I think this could be the Celtics' secret weapon in the future. Just a guy they can deploy off the bench to get a bunch of buckies when they need one, right?
There's the hockey lingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is our hockey guy here.
Yeah, I like it.
I like the pick also. Total luxury pick. I agree. I do think it's a good pick for the Celtics though, because I feels like they've been drafting these like kind of high upside guys like just to throw on the bench. But like this guy can contribute right away, and obviously the Celtics are going to be big competitors in the East. So yeah, it's a good pick. I wish I could say something bad about it because I'm kind of still pissed at the Celtics.
Yeah.
For defense in the playoffs, but yeah, it's a good pick.
Number 15.
All right, number 15. This is the favorite pick that I'm going to be covering today. This was the Orlando Magic taking Cole Anthony. This could be, I think, the steal of the draft. At 6'3" out of North Carolina, he was pegged as the best player in the country coming out of high school. However, he had some collegiate struggles and injuries that damaged his draft stock, which caused him to fall to 15. But I think he's a top 5 talent in this draft. I think it will be seen as the steal of the draft as soon as possibly next year when he slots into Orlando's lineup really well. I think they'll play him in the backcourt alongside Markelle Fultz, and that'll be a really good tandem back there. I think he could help elevate Fultz's game as well. He's one of the most talented, if not the most talented scorers in this draft. So overall, very, very good pick and a steal for the Magic at 15.
Yeah, I think the Magic needed to do something like this. Like if they picked another big, I mean, then how many bigs do you need on your team, right? And they still, for some reason, think Aaron Gordon is a good player. So they're going to keep rolling him out there. And so they needed to do something like this. Get a guard. I mean, Markel's good and he's young. I'm a Markel believer personally, but great pick for the Magic. I completely agree.
They can slot him in ahead of Fournier too, so that's definitely a better fit. Yeah.
I completely agree about this just being a fantastic pick for the Magic, especially in like we've been saying throughout that this is a draft where like none of these guys are guarantees. Like even these top prospects, like the Anthony Edwards of the draft, or the LaMelo Balls, or even the James Wisemans, like there's questions with everybody's game. There's not like a surefire like top like 10 or top even 15 in this draft. So I think for the Magic to go out and get a guy with the skill set of Cole Anthony, he's a fantastic score first point guard. He can also play off the ball. He's explosive, natural scorer, and there's not a lot of players like that in this draft.
Yeah.
That are like that possess this like seemingly like extremely high potential. And
like you already know that the Magic's head office was getting fired up.
Oh yeah, they were drooling.
They were drooling. There's no way they thought he was. I don't think they thought he was going to fall to them. To be honest.
Oh no, I don't think so either.
No, I think they were fired up. Great pick, great value, awesome upside.
At this point in the draft, you were taking a risk no matter who you took.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the one that could pan out the best for them. It has the highest ceiling for the Magic. And I think that was a smart move at this point in the draft. I see why people kind of shied away from him a little bit earlier in the draft, just because he is a bit of a riskier pick than some of the guys we mentioned previously. But at 15, you might as well shoot for the stars. And that's what the Magic did here. And I like the pick a lot.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Who's doing number 16?
That's me. And this is Isaiah Stewart to the Pistons. This is the first pick that I'm gonna talk about that I didn't like. Mostly just because it's very meh to me. Which is weird to say because I actually love the Pistons' 2 other picks. Killian Hayes was my favorite pick in the entire first round. But yeah, it's just weird to me because it feels like you're spending a first round pick on Andre Drummond that is smaller and can shoot better. Like he's not as big, he can't pass, he's not athletic or anything. I don't know. He's a fine player, but to me, he was closer to the second round than the 16th pick. Definitely to me by far the worst out of the 3 guys the Pistons drafted in the first. Like I'm just not really interested in Isaiah Stewart as a player. I like their whole mentality. I don't hate the mentality behind the Isaiah Stewart pick. I just don't like the player that much. That's just my opinion.
I agree with you. I don't. It's nothing. It's very meh. It's very meh. I think do something a little more. There was a lot of better players on the board that I felt. And like you said, and I liked their other 2 picks as well a lot. I'm going to talk about one of them later, but I liked one of their other both of their other picks. And so this one, it didn't do it for me. But I mean, when you're picking 3 guys in the first round, I mean, they got 2 great ones, and if they really think he could be their center, then I guess more power to him.
I completely agree with you guys on this pick. It's like I agree philosophically that they're trying to pick their center of the future or whatever. But Isaiah Stewart, he's not really like the dynamic kind of big man that you want to just center the future of your team around. Like it's sort of like an Andre Drummond comparison. Like he's tough, he's physical, he's a good rebounder, but he's more of like a traditional big. Like he didn't shoot well in college. He doesn't provide a lot of floor spacing. He really struggled as a playmaker without turning the ball over. And I just think if you're going to look for a center, you could have went with a lot of better options here.
Mm-hmm. Well,
he's.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say I actually agree a lot with what Kale was saying. Like he's kind of like a throwback that's not as big as like a traditional throwback. Like I don't know. This is kind of an uninspiring pick. Like this is really what you're picking with the 16th overall pick. Like I get it. You are taking a risk at this point in the draft. But yeah, that's another thing I forgot to mention that the Trailblazers actually made this pick. And they're trading it to the Pistons, and so they had to trade to get him. I don't know. And
if I can just throw one little thing in before we go to the next pick here, is that the NBA is kind of moving away from traditional bigs the same way that like running backs don't matter in the NFL. Like it's like you're not getting like don't spend capital on a guy that you can get in a lot of other ways. Like a big guy that's not very dynamic, you don't need to spend the 16th overall pick on that guy, right? Like you can draft a guy.
Just sign Derek Favors.
Yeah, exactly. Just sign a guy.
Draft a guy that's like, pick a guy like 37. Like you don't need to pick a guy 16, right? So obviously like no disrespect to the player, but yeah, just not a big not
disrespect to the player. I'm just kidding.
All disrespect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of boring, meh, and uninteresting pick, that is not at all what we're talking about with 17. So interesting pick, kind of confusing. The Wolves took this pick, but it's actually rumored, but not really rumored. It will go to the Thunder. So as a part of the Dennis Schroeder 2-pick kind of thing that went on with the Wolves and the Thunder.
Ricky Rubio.
And the Ricky Rubio, all that kind of stuff. The Thunder are extremely into this player, giving up assets, like a lot of assets, like a player, Schroeder, and also picks.
Not Schroeder.
Alexjev
Rubio.
Pokusevsky. Not Schroeder. Ricky Rubio. Sorry, not Schroeder. Yes, but they're clearly very into this guy. Ricky Rubio is established, and this guy's kind of just, we call him fuck guy. He looks a little fucked. He's very tall and lanky. Like he weighs like 200 pounds, and he's like 7'2".
Yeah.
But clearly OKC are just so into this guy. So I'll talk about him a little bit. So he's extremely young, not even 20 yet, 7'2" or 7'1". He's skilled, agile. He's a good shooter, not physical or muscular at all. He's actually extremely mysterious. Not much is known about the guy. I think it's, to be honest, I don't know if you boys would agree, but this to me is easily the weirdest pick of the draft. Not just from the Wolves, but like from the Thunder, the weird trade. Like the Thunder have some like interest or like thought about this guy that the rest of us have no idea what was going on. It's weird. Like, but I guess he has a lot of upside. He's a good shooter especially for his size. Like he's pretty wet. Good playmaker, actually. Great worker in the pick and roll. But like this guy, he'll get bodied by centers in the NBA, like Boucher on the Raptors, or like
Boucher will body.
It doesn't matter how tall you are. If the guy who's up against you has like 60 pounds, you're just gonna get creamed in the paint. So
Boucher would body him. Boucher would body.
Yeah, Boucher
Boucher would
would
body
body this guy. It's weird, but it's an interesting pick and one that it's difficult to talk about because we don't really know anything about him.
I think the Thunder must have a scout that hangs
They
out
do.
in like
They must.
Timbuktu, Pakistan or something like that. That just like where they figured, hey, this guy's lit, like best player that to ever come out of this fucking nowhere place, and then
Like
they
traded Ricky Rubio and
They traded
an
an established NBA player plus 2 picks to get this guy. So
maybe there's something we don't know, but I really don't think that's the case. I mean, everything you just said, Marco, everyone here would just echo in the sense that no one knows anything about the guy. He didn't even really play in like a real like established league. Like it was
played in like gyms.
Yeah, there was way too many question marks about this guy for the Timberwolves to bet. Well, I guess OKC to take this guy. I mean, he's got to get to the gym. He's got to put on like at least 30 pounds. Like
like a light.
He even played before. Like fours would just like Obi Toppin would cook this man all day long. He would just eat him for breakfast. So this guy has a lot of stuff to do here, but I mean, he has the form of a shooter, right? Like he can shoot. He's more of a playmaker than I guess most guys that are like 7'2" and weigh like 150 pounds are. So
it's just an interesting pick where it's like it's hard for us, put it like we're trying to be analysts here, and it's hard for us to analyze this pick because really there just isn't that much information about him. And when this shit went down last night, we were all like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is OKC saying drafting this crazy, weird, like lanky ass dude that literally no one knows about? So I don't know. I can't even say I like the pick because I don't know. But to be honest, it's a lot to give up. So right now I'm very skeptical.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's super random. I like the idea in my head though that Sam Presti is just collecting all these picks just so he could get this one guy. Like this was a guy. This is what he was building towards.
Yeah, Sam Presti has been scouting him since like a child in like Eastern Europe when he's like fighting bears and shit.
I like it. Boys, I was just a complete side note. I have class at 1. So I have picks 22 and 27. So is it cool if I just throw it in the chat and you guys cover my notes on the guy?
Sure. Or just skip class. But
I can't. It's Spanish. It's necessary.
Okay. So
I actually need to go. I get marked to go to class. If it was any other,
throw in your picks.
I will. But yeah, this was fun. And once again, whoever's watching, if anyone, I want to be optimistic. If you're watching, which I know you are, I see you.
To our
you're
thousands
watching.
of viewers.
To our thousands of viewers, I appreciate you. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Marcus, for your good. Marcus will be a regular member on this, by the way. So
I hope so.
Yeah,
I will.
So
I just sent it in the chat. Can you guys see it before I leave?
Yep.
You see Nuggets, Zeke, NNAJI, Naji, and Udoku Azubuki.
Got it.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you,
All
Marco.
right, see you later, Marco.
Good luck, everyone.
See ya.
Cheers. Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe.
Love you, boys. Bye.
Yeah, man, love you too.
All right.
Okay, so who's next after Marco's pick? 18?
18's me. At 18, we have Josh Green. He's a shooting guard out of Arizona. He's drafted to the Dallas Mavericks. So Josh Green is a player that he's a great pick for a Mavericks team that's trying to be a playoff contender right now. He stands at 6'6", and his wingspan is just under 6'10". Green has an excellent frame to be an immediate impact wing in the NBA. He has natural strength and athleticism, and because of this, Green is one of the best perimeter defenders in this draft. So one just little thing about the Mavericks is last season they really struggled to defend the perimeter. Last season, the Mavericks were among the worst perimeter defense teams in the NBA, allowing their opponents to shoot an average of nearly 40% from deep. In the playoffs, a player like Josh Green that can defend positions 1 through 3 due to his defensive IQ and athleticism has great rotational value and can immediately help the Mavericks' weak perimeter defense. He's not the most creative ball handler, and his scoring touch, while it's not terrible, could really stand to be improved. But overall, he generally tends to make the right reads and passes on the offensive end of the floor. So I think Josh Green was a great pick because he can really be an instant impact player for the Mavericks defense. And because of his like decent IQ and he's a little more conservative on offense, he can avoid common rookie hiccups and just be a good all around role player for the Mavericks.
Well said. Yeah, I agree. Unless anyone has any disagreements, we'll move to the next one. Being number 19, I think.
That's you, Jakey.
Yeah, number 19. So number 19 was actually the Brooklyn Nets pick, but it's going to the Pistons. So it's actually a Pistons player, but the Nets picked the guy. It's Saddiq Bey. So Saddiq Bey is 6'8", 216. He's a forward. I think he's a great complementary piece to Killian Hayes. I think you put a 3-and-D guy in there with Killian, and you're starting to build towards the future there.
That's awesome.
Every NBA team is kind of moving towards this 3-and-D archetype that everyone wants one, right? It's kind of like this big, everyone's hunting down that guy, and Saddiq Bey fills that role for them. He's also surprisingly one of the best three-point shooters in this draft at 45% from three-point range. And his physical dimensions are ideal for a modern NBA defense. This guy is long, he's fast, he's thin, but he's strong too. He's just a great 3-and-D defender. And I think the biggest note that I have here is that he fits with the Pistons youth movement, which is kind of the biggest thing. Like, as we were talking about earlier with them picking the center, not a big fan of that pick, but I love this pick and I love the Killian Hayes pick. Put these two guys together and you're starting something kind of special in Detroit. The only cons that I would say were there was a lot of unsureness among scouts about how high this guy's ceiling can actually be. Like, is his ceiling just Covington? Like, is his ceiling just like a 3-and-D player that's just quite good? Or can he be better? I mean, that's something that we'll have to find out once he starts to play. But that was one highlighted area of concern. And the other one was his ball handling isn't that great. But he's more of like a catch and shoot defender anyway, like I've said like 6 times now. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was a good move for the Pistons.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think out of all the teams that made multiple picks in the first round, there's no question. The Pistons just getting these two guys is just awesome. I love it. I didn't think I would come away from this draft loving the Pistons draft so much, because I just have been really disinterested with all the moves they've made recently. But yeah, I think it's a great combination, like you said, between Hayes and Saddiq Bey. And even if his ceiling is Robert Covington, like, to get that at 19, that's perfectly fine. Like, I really especially there's a lot of players that are going to have been drafted. Yeah, and there's a lot of players that are going to have been drafted before him that turn out to be nothing. So
yeah,
I mean, I get that's his ceiling, and that is a question because his floor is obviously lower if that's his ceiling. But yeah, I just think it's a great pick. It's like the exact type of picks the Pistons need to be making in terms of philosophy they made. Like I said, I don't love Isaiah Stewart, but the other two, great. I love that.
Yeah, and you don't want to draft a guy that's taking shots away from Cameron Hayes, and Blake Griffin still needs to eat too, right, on that offense. So, I mean, I think it was just an excellent pick. But we'll move to the next pick, which I believe is Lucas Tanner.
Yes, sir. All right, so we're talking about Precious Achiuwa here for the Miami Heat at 20. He's a 6'9", versatile forward, power forward. He really fits the mold of a modern day NBA big, which I like, and it's a really good pick for the Miami Heat, I think. He fits in well with their culture. He's high energy, athleticism, and versatility, which are all things they value and they run their team on. You can just see that with the run they went on this year. He's a good rebounder and defender who has elite potential should he improve his shot. That's the one knock against his game, is he's not a very good, very consistent shooter. He slots in perfectly alongside all-star Bam Adebayo, who is one of my personal favorite players in the Heat front court, and I think that could be one of the most effective front courts in the future, just in terms of their ability to defend and kind of fit that mold of the modern day NBA big. It's a really good pick for the Miami Heat. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone on board?
Yeah. I wish there was more to say about it, because I like the player and I love the fit so much, but you can't really say much more than that. It's just like the ideal fit. It's probably the best fit in terms of like you said, culture and just the mentality of the team. I don't think you could have drawn it up better in a lab.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah, I
really
know.
hoping that Precious Achua would fall to the Raptors, but he didn't.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's, no, great pick for the Heat.
Mhm.
And